That way, I can send you the link later on, and then you can review the whole session, all right, later on. Okay. So the, the concepts of yoga, there is a text called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. The author's name is Patanjali, and the name of the text is Yoga Sutras. Has anybody heard that name? Who has never heard that name? Raise your hand. Who has never heard that name? All of you heard that name? You have never heard the name.
I've never heard the name. I have never heard the name.
Okay, Puja. Okay, wonderful. All right. So anyway, so uh, those of you who have heard, so Rao, you have heard, right? So what have you heard about it?
That was the basic scripture of the yoga
Basic scripture of yoga
by Patanjali.
by Patanjali. Okay. So the reason I mentioned that is that that text actually is the fundamental text which defines yoga, what it all is, what it's all about, and then it also goes into the different aspects of meditation, etc. Okay, and I'm a kind of a student of that text. Basically, you can think of, in my case, that text is basically my source. You can call it my resource, my inspiration, any word that you can use it. My guiding light. Okay, so I derive all my understanding related to yoga from that book. That's the primary, but there are many other good texts that I follow and try to understand other aspects of related aspects of yoga, but that's the main text. Okay, uh, so I'm going to go through a few of the comments, a few of the concepts that are presented in the text through my PowerPoint slides, and then go through further discussion. Okay. But before we do that, let's do a very, very simple stretch. Okay. It's called the cat and cow stretch in English, Marjarasana, just to loosen up the spine. So come up on your hands and knees. Position the hand under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Spread the fingers wide. As you inhale, lift the head up, tailbone up. Dip the navel down. And as you exhale, lift the navel up, lower the chin down, tuck the tailbone in. And do this a few more times. The next round, finish the final exhalation. Spine back to the neutral position. And once again, we'll sit very comfortably. That was just to kind of loosen up the spine. Now, this session today is mostly going to be a seated session. We're not going to do anything else, okay? So we'll be sitting and doing some discussion, doing some practices, pranayama, etc. So it's very important that you are very comfortable while you're sitting, okay? Is everyone comfortable seated? Okay, if you need, I have cushions and bolsters at the back. If anybody needs bolster to sit on, feel free to do that, okay? You don't want to be uncomfortable when you're seated here, all right? You comfortable? And what's your name? Sorry. Alicia. Alicia. Have you been here before? No. Okay. Wonderful. Like, if you're sitting like this, maybe you're not very comfortable, so you can take a bolster or a cushion from the back to sit on. Okay. So let's dive right into the Yoga Sutra, understanding the concepts there. Let me just share the screen. Somebody's comment here. Okay. You said that they do meditate. It's good. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen. Right. So we'll start by showing the screen which actually defines yoga. Okay. That's how the yoga, the word yoga or the practice of yoga or the concept of yoga is defined in this text. It's a very simple definition. It says yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Okay, that's the Sanskrit phrase. And the translation given is the yoga is the control of the modifications of the mind field. Okay. So what does that mean now? Yoga is this control or the cessation or subduing the constant chatter that goes on in the mind. All right. So, I mean, we're all familiar, that there's not a single moment in our living, in our uh, waking state when the mind is not active. Is that true? Yes, mind is always active. Something or the other is going on in the mind. Okay? But what this text says, that the ability to subdue that constant chatter, make it minimal, that's yoga. Basically, by definition, yoga is simply quieting the mind, calming the mind, keep it quiet, keep it free of all the distractions, all the constant chatter, all kinds of disturbances that we go through. Sometimes we have emotional feelings of anger, hatred, jealousy, greed, and all that stuff. Sometimes we are very joyous, very happy, joyful, and all that, Sometimes just all kinds of feelings, right? All the time. And that's a distraction. What that does for us is when we are doing some actual work, when we are trying to do something, even in that we get distracted. We are not able to focus all the time deeply. Especially, we know that these days, even if you're working for a corporation, for example, and you're doing your project or you're focusing on the project, distractions come all the time. Social media is a big distraction. You're deeply focused on solving some issue, and then suddenly WhatsApp message, ping, and you're immediately distracted. Right? You're not able to focus. It's a big issue. Anybody experience that? Everyone does that all the time. All the time. That's a distraction. That is taking your attention, your focus away from what you're supposed to be doing, and then you're doing something different, which is totally unproductive, okay, non-efficient, absolutely useless then. So the point is, we need to learn how to keep that focus all the time. So we should be doing only one thing at a time, not multiple things. One entity, right? And that's the definition of yoga. Okay, that's the definition of yoga. That's the purpose of yoga, and that's the goal of yoga. Right. So what Patanjali says that look, there's so much going on in the mind, and it's all caused by a lot of things. And he talks about the ego. He talks about the basic functions of the mind. I don't think we'll have time to discuss all that. Okay, but ego is a big player. It's the ego which makes us desire things, makes us get attached to different things. Okay, and then with that attachment, that desire causes all kinds of distractions in the mind. All right. So that's the very definition of yoga. And then what he has done is he has given us a kind of a broad outline of what you need to do to get to this state of yoga, okay, where your mind is completely calm. And he calls it the Ashtanga Yoga, basically 8 limbs of yoga. All right, 8 limbs of yoga. I don't think I have a slide for that here. But let me just list them very, very briefly without the slide. So the 8 limbs of yoga are, the first 2 are called yamas and niyamas. Okay, they are social and ethical guidelines, social, behavioral, ethical guidelines. The things like never tell a lie, don't hurt anybody, don't steal anything. Okay, be very pure and clean. Okay, many different guidelines which will help you develop a mind which learns how to stay calm and peaceful by itself, just by going through these. You know, we get, for example, one of the things is don't hurt anybody, right? The word used is ahimsa, which means don't hurt anyone, don't cause violence or injury to anyone, right? Now, if you violate that, can you be calm and peaceful? If you hurt somebody, you will never sleep well, right? You're always thinking about that. There's no way to keep calm. If you tell a lie, right? If you hide the truth or tell a lie, they say it takes 100 more lies to cover that one lie, and that multiplies. And then you'll never be able to sleep, never be able to stay calm, never be able to focus. So all those guidelines become extremely important. Those, those yamas and niyamas, as they are called. So those are the first 2 guidelines, 2 limbs of yogas, you can call them. The third limb of yoga is called asana, which simply means sitting. Asana means sit down comfortably. Asana means to sit down comfortably. And that's what Patanjali wants us to do. Sit down comfortably and then practice. The next limb is pranayama. Okay? Pranayama is breathing practices, and we'll do a few of those practices today. So he says, sit down very comfortably, very still. And the word he uses are sthiram, sukham. Those are the 2 words in Sanskrit he uses for asana. Sthiram means very firm, steady, not moving, not shaking, not trembling, no, all those negative things, but basically very steady and stable. And sukham means very comfortable posture. That's why I mentioned already that you have to be very comfortable in sitting whichever posture you're in. All right. So that's the definition of asana. Now, I'm sure all of you know the word asana from other tech contexts, right? So what happened was Patanjali just gave the guideline that it should be very comfortable and steady and go do pranayama and meditation. But what happened was when people started doing that, they realized that it is impossible to sit comfortable and steady for any length of time. People, they will sit for 10 minutes and do some pranayama and meditation. Then, their hips would hurt, their shoulders would hurt, they would have to use this. They would not be able to sit very comfortably for any length of time. Few minutes, and they are distracted physically. So the subsequent yogis, they said, oh, we have to do something. So they developed this whole program called the Hatha Yoga, which is all the physical exercises, pranayama exercises, meditation practices, different preparations for all that. So that becomes the practice of Hatha Yoga. All right. So the idea was to develop a body which is healthy, free of any disease, ailments. Okay. You need that, a body which is free of ailments, right? To be able to meditate, you have to be free of ailments. And that's why this whole practice of asana was developed. They didn't want to use a different name. They said, Patanjali gave us a name, asana, even though that means a very sitting posture, we'll take the same name. And whether we are standing or inversion posture, all these sun salutations and warrior pose and handstand, shoulder stand, all those poses, the name given to them was also asana. Everything was called asana later on. Okay? But the idea was to develop a body which is strong, flexible, stable, healthy, free of disease, And then they said, okay, now you go and sit, meditate. So the purpose of all the practices that people do, wherever you are, in a studio or in a gym or in a YMCA or wherever you do that, they just do it for physical fitness. You know that, right? Most people practice asanas for just physical fitness. They are not even aware that the purpose, the goal of these asana practices, the reason they were developed was so that you could sit and meditate. You get the picture? Okay. So the goal was all these practices that were designed later on. The goal was simply to sit and meditate eventually. Why? Because the purpose of yoga is to bring the mind to a very steady state, undisturbed, undistracted, calm state. That's the whole purpose of yoga. Okay? So that's the asana, and then Patanjali says pranayama is extremely helpful. Okay? The words he uses are for pranayama, tataha dharanasu yogyata. That's the statement he makes in Sanskrit, which means that pranayama actually will help you prepare for meditation, get ready for meditation. Okay, that's what it means, pranayama. And the other phrase he uses there are that the darkness or the veil over your mind is removed by pranayama. So pranayama goes very deep into us. Okay, it can really help us cleanse the mind, cleanse the body. There's a lot of physiological cleansing and all that, energizing. Okay, so pranayama is very important. So we have yamas, niyamas, which are ethical and moral kind of guidelines, then asana, which is to sit comfortably, but then with the added guideline that, okay, now you can do all the other asanas, okay, which will help you make the body very strong and flexible, and then you sit down and meditate. And pranayama, that's number 4. Number 5, the limb number 5 is called pratyahara in Sanskrit. What's pratyahara? It's the ability to withdraw the mind from any influence through the 5 senses. Okay? So we are constantly driven outward, going after these 5 senses, right? We have sense of sight, touch, taste, smell, and all that, right? We all know that, okay? We like something that we enjoy eating, we're already driven to that, okay? And go after that, whatever that is. If you're attracted to something that you enjoy listening to, you're driven to that. Same thing, touch, feel, everything. But that's a distraction. Okay. Same thing when you're sitting for meditation. Again, you're sitting for meditation and suddenly a WhatsApp or a Facebook message comes and you get distracted. Right? So pratyahara will help us turn the attention inward so the outside world does not influence us through the 5 senses. That's the state of pratyahara. Okay, very important part of the practice. Okay. And then there are the final 3 limbs of yoga are different successive stages of meditation. Okay. So the very first limb of meditation is called dharana, which is to develop kind of an initial focus. Okay. Then the next stage is meditation, real meditation, which is called dhyana. Okay. And then finally the stage called samadhi. Samadhi is the kind of a successive stage of meditation, the deepest state of meditation, where the mind is now deeply focused on whatever you're trying to focus on, and nothing else is going on in the mind. That's called the state of samadhi. Has anybody heard that term before? Samadhi. Okay. So the stages of meditation are dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Dharana is the initial focus. Dhyana is the actual meditation, and samadhi is where we'll end up in the deepest state of meditation. Okay, so let me just quickly go through the the definition of these three terms. So this is the very first one. It's called Deshabandha Chittasya Dharana. Okay. So I'm not going to go into any details of these things. I'm going to give you a very kind of a simplistic. Didn't change? Why? Why doesn't it change? Oh. So just let me go back and see if I can do something. Give me a second, guys. We're having trouble on the screen here in my studio. Okay, now you can see that, right? All right. So the the definition of dharana is the concentration is the confining of the mind within a limited mental area or an object of concentration. You know, the definition will be very similar for all these, but here you can pick any object that you want to focus on. It could be an internal object or it could be an external object. You know, one of the very commonly used practices which we use for dharana using an external object is actually to focus on the flame of a candle. Has anybody done that? Candle flame. It's called candle flame meditation, you can call it. Trataka. That's a very common object of meditation. Or you can focus on anything, you know, even in internal focus. For example, you can internally focus on your heart center or your throat center or this third eye called the Agnya Chakra, etc., etc. Or you can pick any object. Right. Some people, for example, instead of the candle flame, you can actually go and look at the sun when it is rising at the horizon. Just at the horizon, it's just rising. Okay, just at that time. Don't graze at the sun when it is high up in the sky. That can damage your eyes. But when it is just rising, gaze at that sun for about 2 minutes, and then what you will find is that when you close the eyes, that glow of that sun will be kind of lighting your inner mind. Okay, at that time you can view that glow in the mind, and they can stay for a long time. And you focus on that inner glow of that sun. Anybody done that? No. You've tried that, yeah. So beautiful. And then you focus on that. That becomes a very beautiful dharana practice. You're focusing on that glow, that shine inside you. Okay? And then you transition to your meditation. So that's dharana. And then the actual meditation, it says tatra pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. That's the definition in Sanskrit. So let me explain what these words mean. So the word pratyaya means the content of the mind, whatever is in the mind at any given time. Okay. So I mean, you could have anything in the mind at any given time. Right. So if I'm looking at Saurav, you know, I have a picture of an image of his face in my mind. Maybe, you know, that's what I'm looking at. All right. And then what this says, if you have that, you want to use that as your object of meditation, you're welcome to do that. Okay. Okay. So that's the idea, right? So you can do that if you want to use the image of Saurav's face in your mind, you can do that as an object of meditation. Okay. But the idea is, what he's saying is pratyaya, that becomes the pratyaya, right? Pratyaya is the content of the mind. So in this case, the content of the mind is an image of his face in my mind. Ekatanata. The word ekatanata means, tan is to stretch something in Sanskrit. Tan means to stretch something. Ek means one. So stretching something in unison, in oneness. That means the same content I am going to stretch for a very long time. Same content. Right? So now, the moment I have this image of his face in my mind, I'm going to try and maintain the same image in my mind at the exclusion of anything else coming up in my mind. But guess what? The moment I have that image, a thought will come. Oh, his wife's name is Ranjana or whatever, and then he came to my classes, 10 years ago with all his kids. And then I've come start thinking about kids, not only his kids, but my kids, somebody else's kids. The mind just goes all over the place, right? That's the whole process of the mind. This is how the mind functions, right? So what the definition says that I want to develop the ability where I can maintain that same content for a very long time. From one moment to the next moment to the next moment to the next moment, I should have the same content in my mind. That's meditation. All right? So, tatra pratyaya ekatanata. That's the word ekatanata. That's the definition and that's the challenge. As I mentioned, that's the challenge that we are now trying to maintain our mind focused on one single object for a long period of time.
Right? How is dhyana different than dharana?
Dharana is the initial kind of focus, whereas dharana you can have a choice of objects. Okay, you're not limited to the same object all the time. In dhyana, once you pick an object, you don't change that. Okay. In dharana, you can have one object today, another object tomorrow, and then try to focus your mind and see what works for you, and then you can kind of go back and forth. There's a text. It's a tantric text from the old days. It's called Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Anybody heard that name? Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. It's kind of a dialogue between Shiva and Parvati, where Shiva is giving guidelines to Parvati for these meditation practices. And there it lists 112 dharana practices. In that text, 112 dharana practices are meditation.
Is there any examples? Examples?
Well, in that one, they will tell you, okay, use your breath as your meditation practice, initial focus.
What I heard is like breath is one thing.
Yeah.
Mantra.
Mantra. Yeah.
And is there anything else?
Well, like I'm giving you an example from that text. They say, okay, imagine a light is a very bright light which is emanating from the heart center. It going up and actually coming out of the Sahasrara chakra out. Focus on the light, internal light. There are so many examples in that text. So many things. You can even Patanjali, he gives you dozens of examples in the text, Yoga Sutras. Okay, you can focus on your throat center. You can focus on your Agnya chakra. Externally, you can focus on the stars, moon, sun, everything. He gives all these examples.
What do you follow? Then what do you?
Well, I follow a few things, right? Well, I said that candlelight is a very popular, and it's one of my favorites. So I focus on the candlelight. Breathing practices, I follow a couple of the breathing practices which I extend the duration, and you use that as dharana. Okay, that becomes a very beautiful practice. There are so many other practices that you can do for dharana. Right?
When you say you see candlelight, so you physically lit the candle, or
Yes.
you just imagine?
No, I light the candle. I actually light a candle, and then we gaze at that flame for a long time. And then again, close the eyes, then you will have an image of that candle in your eye, mind's eye. Then you gaze at the inner image then for a long time. And that gives you beautiful focus, very beautiful focus.
So without closing your eyes, you will first gaze it, and
Yes.
then you'll close the eyes. And,
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes. Same thing you can do, people who have some deity, they call it Ishta Devata, for example. The Sanskrit word is Ishta Devata, which means some deity that is your own personal deity. People follow Shiva, maybe Parvati or Saraswati, or some of these deities that we have in our culture. Okay, if you have an image of that deity, for example, Shiva's image in your home, gaze at that image. Okay, for some time, get a great idea of what that image is like, and close the eyes, and then focus on that image mentally. That becomes dharana. Many people do that, and there are mandalas and yantras. Lot of different techniques have been devised for dharana practices. Okay, you can get these pictures of yantras. Like there is a very popular yantra called the what is it called? Shri Yantra. Very popular. Shri Yantra. It's an image of a diagrammatic, picture, and beautiful. People follow that. Okay? So many different aspects of dharana, many different ways.
Subhashi, I have a question.
Yes, please.
So suppose if I'm doing, say, pranayam for dharana.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
while doing that, also, can we imagine or can we picture an object like deity's face while doing the pranayam and
why-
then slip into meditation?
Why would you like to do that? Why would you want to confuse the two, in a sense? I mean, if you're focusing on pranayama, stay focused on pranayama. That's my suggestion.
Okay.
If you're doing the deity's image, just stay focused on deity's image. Then don't bring anything else.
Okay, so either pranayama or just keep gazing at the deity's image, and so either or.
Either I would suggest that. Yes. Yes.
How about like nothingness? You focus on that, like,
Whatever works for you.
okay, like
So if you say that nothingness, sometimes it is hard for people to imagine nothingness.
that's like reverse of focusing on something, you're just blanking your mind out.
Give me an example of that.
So like the state of like shunya, or like,
Well, how do you get to that state? So the purpose of all these practices is to get to that state of shunya. If you already are there, then you don't need anything. Then you're already there. I mean, that's my approach. My thinking is that state of shunya is what we are striving for. When there's nothing in the mind. That's the whole purpose of Patanjali's yoga. If you already are there, if you already have a state of shunya in your mind, then you're done. Then you are at the highest state of meditation. That's samadhi. That's my understanding.
Subhashi, can you repeat the question? We could hear it.
What he's suggesting is, can you use nothingness as your object of dharana?
Oh, okay.
Nothingness. So, my thought is nothingness is the ultimate goal of yoga, of dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. I mean, that's my understanding. Unless you have some other, concept of nothingness in mind, which I don't understand.
I've used some in the past. I mean, I've used different techniques, but one of them was to just let it kind of flow and not focus on anything. So it's like a reverse of focusing on something. You just let the thoughts flow.
But then when you say nothingness, what does it mean?
That's what,
That's the goal, right?
yeah,
Still?
that's the goal. So
Yeah, but still there'll be something in the mind when you have no focus. There always will be something in the mind. Isn't that true?
right. So, the thoughts will come, but the idea is not to hang on and
That's the point. So thoughts are still there. That's the point.
you just watch them,
Yeah,
let them go.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the technique. Again, like I said, there are multiple techniques of meditation. What he's talking about is usually what they follow, in my understanding, that's the technique followed by the Buddhist style of meditation. Okay? They follow that technique of meditation where they don't focus on anything, but then they become the observer of whatever is going on in the mind. It's a very valid technique. Nothing wrong with that.
So, let thoughts.
Subhashi,
Yes.
sorry to the observer is the observed. So say there means what? Say thought is there. So when there is no thought, where is the thinker? So is the thinker separate from the thought? So thought is creating the thinker. So the observer, where is the observed?
So that's a deeper state of meditation that you're talking about. Okay. So that's exactly where we are headed. Okay. When, in fact, since you mentioned that, let me take you to the very next sutra here, and you will understand what you're saying then. Okay. So now this is the state of samadhi. Okay. So what he's saying is, in this sutra, Tadeva Arthamatra Nirbhasam and Swarupa Shunya Veva Samadhi. So what does that mean is, he says that Swarupa Shunyam. Swarupa means your own form, your own essence. Okay, who's he talking about? Observer, the meditator. So when the meditator doesn't even recognize that he's meditating, okay, so he is completely absorbed, deeply absorbed in what he is meditating on. And the entire mind field is only that entity, what he is meditating on, even forgetting that you are the meditator. Right? Isn't that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Subhashji.
So that's what
The
Ravi was
meditator does not exist
meditator
in
will not exist
meditation.
eventually. Yes, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what this sutra is saying. It says Arthamatra Nirbhasam. Arthamatra means the very essence of what you're meditating on, only that is occupying the entire your mind, entire mind. And you have already forgotten that you are the meditator. That's the final state. Yes.
Can you meditate to solve problems? Like sometimes I find myself like whatever's troubling me, meditating in order to resolve it.
I couldn't get the question right. Can you speak up a little louder?
Can you meditate to solve problems?
To solve a problem? Yes, of course you can do that. Yes. So again, the idea is to solve a problem, what you want is a deep state of focus. That's exactly the whole purpose of meditation, is to develop a state of the mind which can function without getting distracted. And that's exactly what you're looking for. So if you're solving a problem, you want to go to go deeper and deeper and deeper to the source of the problem. Okay, how can you do that? Only when there is no distraction and you're able to deeply focus on it, analyze every step of that problem, and go to the source. Okay, this is where it is. Where did this come from? Okay, this is where it is. Go deeper. That's how you resolve the problem. Go to the source of the problem. And that you can do only if your mind is completely free of any agitation, any distraction. That makes sense? Okay. All right. So that's the goal of these practices, to attain a state where we have merged with whatever we are focusing on completely at the expense of anything else going on. Right? Fernanda, welcome back. I just wanted to mention that, but long time. Okay.
Subhaji, what is the meaning of Hatha in Hatha Yoga?
Hatha Yoga, the word,
Yes.
the Hatha Yoga is all the practices that we use. So, for example, the text that is very commonly followed for all the practices, that name of that text is Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Pradipika means a light or a flame or something, Pradipika. So, light of Hatha Yoga. Now, the word Hatha, they say, is a composite of two words, Ha and Tha. Ha represents the moon and Tha represents the sun. So they represent the two kind of poles of an entity, right? Two opposite poles, so to say. So when they say moon, they are also saying that this represents the feminine aspect of our being, and sun represents the masculine aspect. So we all have these two aspects of our being, feminine, masculine, positive, negative, okay, more emotional, more intellectual, okay, analytical, all those things, okay, hot and cold, sun and moon. So they represent duality that we are all, that all have all the time. The sun and moon represent duality. You have all kinds of duality, right? Good and bad, happy and unhappy, hate and love, we always confronted with duality every time. All right. The purpose is to not have that duality, not be bothered by duality. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, they say, whether it's honor or dishonor or happy or unhappy, all those things they say, you should be very, very even in your approach in life. No matter what happens, should be very even. Okay. So that's the approach for Hatha Yoga, is to eliminate the influence of duality on our life through the practices of yoga. That's what they say. Hatha is sun and moon, basically. That's at a very high level.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on to some pranayama practice? Everyone okay?
Do you teach only Hatha Yoga? Do you teach Hatha Yoga?
I do, yes. Mhm.
Okay.
So I teach Hatha Yoga. So to answer that question, I teach 4 weekly classes. That's number one. Every week I teach 4 classes. They are happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And there in these classes, I teach the practice of asana, pranayama, etc. Okay, that's Hatha Yoga. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I like the sentence that you used, right? To get to a state where you are not getting impacted by things around you. I would love to get there.
That's the whole idea of yoga.
I know. That's my goal.
Very good, very good. Okay. That's the very definition of yoga. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That's what we said earlier. That you are
I
not.
didn't know that. This is a new learning for me. I always thought of yoga as a physical exercise.
Well, that's the whole point I'm trying to make here. That yoga is way beyond just physical exercise. You have to look at yoga in its holistic approach, and then you will understand there is much, much more to yoga than just physical exercise. Okay? That's the whole purpose of yoga. All right. So asana, which is what we are doing, sitting posture, and then pranayama. Pranayama, Patanjali says, takes you to the kind of the doorstep of meditation. Okay. We'll just do 2 practices of pranayama, not too many. Okay. 2 practices. All right. So the first one is called Kapalabhati. Many of you have done it. If you're comfortable, you can sit in the.
Can you please unshare the screen so that we can see you in bigger?
That's a very good thought.
Thank you.
Okay. So this posture is called Vajrasana. If you're comfortable, sit in this. Otherwise, stay wherever you are. It doesn't matter. And the practice we'll do is called Kapalabhati. Right? So in this one, let me just show you for friends online. Also, and people here also, if you have never done it, it's the breath going out very forcefully, short burst of breath. When you throw the breath out, the belly should be sucked in. Okay, so it goes like this. Okay, can everyone see that? Breath goes out, belly goes in, sharp. The lower part of the belly is engaged, much below the navel. Okay, let's all do that. Breath going out, belly coming in sharply at that time. So there's no effort to inhale. Inhalation just happens passively. So it's like this. Immediately let go of the belly. It's often very immediately after a statement that which you decide. Anyway, very good. I think your focus should be a little bit below the navel. Right now, your movement is okay, but it's almost at the navel level. If you put your hands below the navel, see if you can move those muscles in sharp reach. That's better. Yeah. Okay. Let's do the final exhalation and just natural rhythm of breathing. That's called Kapalabhati. It's actually in the text that the text that I mentioned called Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is a text for all the practices. In that one, that Kapalabhati practice is listed under the category called cleansing practices. So there are categories of chapters on asana, pranayama, and cleansing practices. Kapalabhati is listed as a cleansing practice in that text. But then things evolve, as people started practicing it. It's now almost universally practiced as a part of pranayama. Cleansing is going on in any case, doing a lot of detoxification and cleansing, but it's now practiced as pranayama. Okay. So what in my classes that I do, I also use a metronome to do this practice. So I'm going to try that now, metronome. That way you can start practicing with the metronome. Let me just bring that metronome up. All right. So try to synchronize with this metronome now, okay? See if you can hear that. With this, when you breathe out, this is the movement. Synchronize with this, the belly movement. You can hear at the back sound? Okay.
We cannot hear it, or at least
Yeah, we cannot hear it online.
I'm sorry. My apologies. I should have shared that. Hold on a second. I need to share the sound. Just give me a second. Oh, now you can. Right now you can hear, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My apologies. Yep. Good.
Not yet.
What?
Can hear it.
No, I'm not here. I'm not able to hear it.
Hold on a
It's
second.
audible. Maybe
It's audible.
Yeah, I can
Everyone,
hear it.
yeah, everyone can hear it. Pooja, you have to do something to your.
No, I can hear it. I
Okay.
think
Okay.
somebody
Okay.
else is having issue.
I can hear you.
I'm having issue. I'll just manage,
Yeah.
Subhaji. No problem.
Maybe
You
your
have to-
system, you have to increase the sound in your system.
On speaker, you have to manage your speaker.
Other recipient system, audience.
Okay.
Your thing is okay. We are able to listen.
Keep going. Okay, now just exhale and then just bring your breathing back to your natural rhythm of breathing. That's a very important practice, pranayama practice. And the only other practice we will do, it's called in English, we call it alternate nostril breathing. And in Sanskrit, there are two names for it. It's called Nadi Shuddhi. That's one name. The second name is Anulom Vilom. Okay, Anulom Vilom. Nadi Shuddhi literally means purifying the nervous system. Nadi is the nervous system. Shuddhi means purification. And so it's the purifying the entire system of nerves in the body. And according to ancient yoga texts, the the number of nadis in the system. Does anybody know how many nadis are there in the system?
Is it 72,000?
72,000, they say. Yes. So 72,000 nerves. They're subtle nerves. They're not the physical nerves, they say. They're subtle carriers of prana, energy in the body. But they have to be managed and cleansed out so that we can perform at the most optimum level. Okay. So this
So
practice.
Subhashi, sorry.
Go ahead, Sonu.
So those nadis, they don't have anything to do with the nervous system nerves, correct?
Well, they have a correspondence in some ways, they say, but they are still considered to be the pranic channels of energy, not physical channels. They have some association with the physical channels also, and they have people who can tell you what the correspondence is. I don't know.
Okay. No, so I was curious, so they are not like physical,
No,
or
they are
are
not.
they're not? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the practice we're going to do now. So for that practice, there are two gestures with the hands. One is called Vishnu Mudra. So make a fist with the right hand, fist, and then lift the thumb up and the last two fingers up. Fist. So fist, thumb up, last two fingers up. The middle two fingers are bent. They remain bent throughout. Okay, middle two fingers. That's the Vishnu Mudra. With the left hand, join the index and thumb together and place that hand very, very lightly, very comfortably on your knee or your thigh. Okay, this is called the Chin Mudra. ChinMudra. Chin Mudra. This is called Vishnu Mudra. So let's start. We're going to do it together. So close the right nostril with the right thumb and begin with an exhalation through the left nostril. Right thumb, right nostril. Close it. Exhale from the left side. Then inhale from the left side. Then close the left side with the ring finger. Exhale from the right nostril. Now, ring finger. Exhale right. Then inhale right. Close the right with the thumb. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close the left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close the right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close the left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Keep going now. Don't stop. Very soft breath. So your sound should be very, very soft. You almost should not be able. Your neighbor should not be able to hear it much. Much sound. Soft sound, basically. Don't make it loud. But keep the breath very long and very deep. Very long in terms of duration. All right. And then focus on the breath as it enters the nostrils and then opposite from the other nostril. So very deep focus. Try to maintain a very smooth flow of your breath. You should not feel any kind of bumpiness in your breath, any kind of breakage in your breath. It should be very smoothly flowing inhalation, very smoothly flowing exhalation. Now, keep a count in your mind. So introduce a count, Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, etc. So make an assessment of how long is your inhalation and how long is your exhalation. Very gentle mental assessment. Over time, you want to make a ratio of 1 to 2 over time. Doesn't have to happen today. Your exhalation eventually should become twice the duration of inhalation. Very soft breaths, not much sound. Very even breaths. And long in terms of duration. Try to make it as long as you feel comfortable with. No strain should be felt at all. let's finish the next cycle, finish the final exhalation, which should be through the left nostril. And then finally release the hands and bring your breathing back to your natural rhythm of breathing. Okay. So in terms of time, it looks like we may run beyond 7:30. Is that okay with everyone? You absolutely have to leave, please do so. But, I'm doing this for the first time, okay? I did not know how to assess how much time I will need for this session. So I just kind of guessed an hour and a half. Maybe I should have kept a little bit longer because we might run out of time, okay? Is that okay? Please stay back. You should a little bit longer.
How long do you spend on the breathing practices each time?
How long? How long should, what's the question? How
So
long?
if I'm gonna practice alternate astral breathing, for what length of time?
So the two practices that we just did, the Kapalabhati practice, normal recommendation is to do 3 rounds. Okay. What does the 3 rounds mean? In each round, the common guideline is that you start with about 50 breaths in each round, and over time build your practice so you can do about 120 breaths. And that how long will that take? It's very individual. You can do it in a week, you can take a month to do that, but roughly 120 breaths in each round, and then do up to 3 rounds. And then, of course, there is whole concept of locks and bandhas and all, which will add more time. You have to learn that specifically. Okay, so all that might, if you take 3 rounds with the bandhas and all, it might add up to about 10 minutes. If you don't do all that, if you just do 120 rounds, and let's say your speed is, what we did was 70 breaths per minute, it will take you like 6 minutes, 5 minutes, okay, roughly.
How do you keep track of counts when you are doing this for 120 minutes?
How do you keep track? Keep counting. You know how to count, right?
But you are keeping your mudra like this, right? So if I am, you keep your left hand like this, you are using right hand here. So how do you count then?
You don't need a hand to count. You mentally count.
Okay, then I'm distracted. Then I'm not focusing on, then I'm more focused on count than the breath.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. If you're focused on count, that's a mental focus then. Then you're not distracted in any case. That's a good idea.
Okay. And
Sir,
when you say 120 breath, it's like inhale, exhale on right and inhale, exhale on left.
No. I'm talking of Kapalabhati.
Oh, you are not talking about Anulom Vilom.
No, not yet. No, I started with Kapalabhati.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry, I missed that.
Okay. So Kapalabhati, I said, so this is how we count. That's 1,
Got it.
2.
Yeah,
Four.
got it.
Okay, that's how I was talking of Kapalabhati first.
sir, when you count, one breath is inhalation and exhalation together constitute one breath, right?
In
And
Kapalabhati,
inhalation is passive. Inhalation is
Okay,
passive.
yes.
Exhalation is active.
yes, we are only
So
talking about that one.
Ex-
Each exhalation is 1 count.
Correct. Inhalation is passive. Anyway, it goes on.
Yes, very true. Yep.
Thank you.
Quickly, one more time, can you show the mudra of Anulom Vilom?
Okay, so this is called Vishnu Mudra, where you make a fist with the right hand, then lift the thumb up and the last 2 fingers up. Okay, middle 2 fingers will remain bent throughout the practice. Now, when we do the practice, the thumb is used for the right nostril, thumb. Okay, so always close the right nostril with your thumb. And then always use the ring finger. This is the second finger from the little finger, that's the ring finger.
Okay.
Use the ring finger for the left nostril.
Okay. And this will be closed always.
This will always be bent.
Okay.
Middle 2 fingers always bent.
Okay.
That's called the Vishnu Mudra.
And what about the
Left hand Chin Mudra.
okay, Chin Mudra? Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Keep it like this.
Yeah.
Okay? So now, in terms of the duration, the goal is to roughly the goal is to build a ratio so that your inhalation is roughly 5 seconds and exhalation is 10 seconds. That's the goal, roughly. Now, There's no strict guideline, okay? So count is Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 5, okay, etc. Each is 1 second. So if you can count Om 1 through Om 5, that's inhale, and then Om 1 through Om 10, that's exhale. That's roughly the guideline. Initially, you may be doing 3 seconds to 6 seconds, or 3 to 5, 3 to 4. Everyone is different. Okay, so the ratio may be varying from one person to the next. Okay, if it is 3 to 4 ratio, fine, stay with it. Don't worry. The key is not to strain yourself. Just because I said 1 to 2 ratio and you keep straining yourself and then you sweat it out, and that's no good. You don't want to do that. You get the idea? Okay, so keep it very, very gentle, very, very smooth, and then enjoy it eventually.
And is there a time or a count?
So
Or how-
we're coming to that now. So again, if let's say you do 5 inhale and 10 exhale, okay, or 10 inhale and 20 exhale, just picking a number now. So let's say you get to 5 to 10 ratio, right? Then, so your round will be 5 inhale, 10 exhale, 5 inhale, 10 exhale. So that's total of 30 seconds. That's one round.
No, it can be 5 and 10. It has to be equal, right?
What I'm saying is the guideline is to make the exhalation twice the duration of inhalation. That's the guideline.
Oh, the duration. You mean the duration, right?
So if you inhale for 5 seconds,
Okay.
the guideline is to make roughly up to 10 seconds of exhalation. That may not happen. That's what I'm saying. In the beginning, that may not happen. And then slowly build up. Go to 6 to 12, 7 to 14, etc., up to 10 to 20 ratio, etc. Okay. So if you are only 5 to 10, okay, then your total duration will be 30 seconds for one round. The usual guideline is that you should do at least 6 to 8 rounds of this practice. Okay. So if it is 30 seconds, 6 to 8 rounds will take about 4 minutes. All right. But keep this in mind. Again, your objective is to increase the ratio over time. So let's say you eventually build up the ratio to 10 to 20. Now you're taking 1 minute for one cycle. 10 plus 20 is 30, then 10 plus 20 is 30. Okay. Then if you want to do 6 to 8 rounds, then you are going in up in time, 8 minutes maybe. Everyone get that? So time is variable, depending on the capacity that you have. But then I also have, on my blog, I've mentioned that in my own approach, I recommend 6 pranayama practices. So you should look at those 6 practices on my blog if you want to consider those. If you do all of those 6, it can take up to about 25 to 30 minutes minimum. All those 6 pranayama. All right. Okay. And there's many practices of pranayama, and I do a separate course on pranayama also. Okay. So again, talking about the courses I offer, I teach 4 weekly classes, which are all Hatha Yoga, asana based. Then I'll do these special morning programs. And currently I'm doing a 21-day morning program, which is same asana practice. But then I also do special programs on pranayama and meditation, 14-day each. So I do a program for 14 days, which is just pranayama, and then 14 days, which is just meditation. Okay? And there are others also that I do. All right. Now, let's talk about meditation, because we're running out of time. So we haven't come to the real core of meditation yet. So how do you meditate? There are a few kind of guidelines, right? Few, you can say, logistic guidelines. Number 1, what's the best time for meditation? Any thoughts?
Brahma
Brahma Muhurta. You already know the word. I was going to mention that. So the word he uses, Brahma Muhurta. Now that's a Sanskrit word, and it defines a time frame in the morning, which is 48 times 2, 96 minutes before sunrise. Okay, that's the time. 96 minutes before sunrise. That's called Brahma Muhurta in Sanskrit. Ideal time for meditation. Why? Everything is peace and quiet at that time. You had a good night's rest maybe, and then you're very fresh and awake finally, Of course, these are only for people who wake up early. If you sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning, then of course that doesn't work. Okay? But then everything is quiet. Even the environment is quiet. The birds have still not woken up at that time. They are not, you won't hear the chirping of the birds at that time. The wind is very, very light. Everything is quiet. The environment, the internal, external, everything is quiet. So that is considered to be the best time for meditation, for yoga practice. But there's a big problem with that. What's the problem? It's tied to the sunrise time. And sun rises at a different time every single day. 365 days, sun rises at a different time. So you cannot have your life controlled by the sunrise time. So ideally, pick a time in the morning. Okay, that's ideal. Any time. But then these days, people who work, some people have meetings with people in Russia, in China, in India, they happen early in the morning, who knows when. Then what do you do? So the guideline is that, look, pick a time during the day when the stomach is empty. That's it. Anytime. Empty stomach. When is the stomach empty? Before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner. That's it. Those are the best times for meditation. You get the idea? Anytime. Then that's number one, time. How long you should meditate for? Most teachers will tell you build up to a duration of 20 minutes. Very rough guideline. Why 20? Everyone says that. All right. And wherever I learned meditation, everyone says 20 minutes. It's okay. Okay. So I've been doing it for a long time now, and my current practice goes up to roughly about 30 minutes now. I've built it up slowly, and I feel very comfortable with about 30 minutes of meditation. Okay. But you can start with 10 minutes, it's okay. But 20 is the guided duration. Where should you meditate? Pick a place in your house which is very quiet and very peaceful, congenial for meditation, should be free of clutter, noises, anything, Turn off your cell phone, turn off your phone, no notification sounds, okay? Because they are very distracting. You want to be totally free of any distraction. Ideally, do it when the kids are not around, pets are not around. All those are simple guidelines. You get the idea? See? And so you have to set a nice environment for your meditation. Now, how do you meditate? Like I said, the definition was pick an object for meditation. Okay. How do you pick an object? Any object. Patanjali says pick any object, it doesn't matter. But as things have evolved, the most common object that is now used, most common for most people, is a mantra. It's a mantra. So it's called mantra meditation. What's a mantra? Mantra is a sound or a word or a phrase that you pick in your mind, and then you repeat that same sound, same word or a phrase. Okay? How do you decide on a mantra? In the old days, you have to go to a teacher who you will practice with for a long time, many years actually, and then he will give you a mantra. But these days, that system doesn't exist anymore. So you pick any word that you are comfortable with. Okay, any word, it doesn't matter. If you follow a tradition, for example, a lot of people in India follow a tradition, like I was mentioning, people are devotees of Shiva or Vishnu or whoever. Pick a mantra that corresponds to that deity. It's fine. Something like Om Namah Shivaya is a very common mantra, right? So pick a mantra, and then you can experiment at the beginning for 1 or 2 mantras, but it's a very strong guideline. Once you pick a mantra, stay with it. Okay, why? Because when you recite that mantra mentally over and over again, it creates vibrations. Okay, that mental chanting creates vibrations, and those vibrations have very beautiful properties eventually. They become very effective in calming your mind, those vibrations. They work on your subconscious levels, those vibrations. And the constant chatter that we have going on is because of the stuff that's constantly coming from our subconscious levels. The thought processes which are deep inside us, they keep coming up. These mantras, these vibrations of the mantras, can actually calm those vibrations down, those perturbations in the mind from the subconscious levels. So stay with the same mantra. Very, very important. Okay? Now, when you start the mantra meditation, what happens? Thoughts come, right? And sometimes thoughts take over your mind. You don't even know that, right? So I'm sitting here, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, feeling kind of hungry, Om Namah Shivaya. On my way back, I must stop at Harry's Teeter, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, but I have no milk at home. Harry's Teeter, I know where the shelf is, I go and pick up the milk and then go home and then start cooking. And now I'm cooking my food. Okay, my mantra Om Namah Shivaya is way back somewhere in the background. That happens. It's very common. Is it unnatural? No, it's very not natural. Is it undesirable? No, it's going to happen. You cannot prevent it. If that happens, am I a poor meditator? No, you're perfectly a good meditator. You're recognizing the very nature of your mind. It is going to happen. Let it happen. But as soon as you recognize that it has happened, go back to your mantra meditation. That's it. Very simple technique. No analysis, no judgment, no self-criticism. Why am I getting all these thoughts? Never. None of that. Once you meditate, thoughts will come. The very nature of the mind. It's very important to keep in mind. Most people get distracted, they get disheartened because, oh, I cannot stop my mind from getting these thoughts. I cannot meditate, so I'm giving it up. That's the whole purpose of meditation. To recognize what's going on in the mind, understand what's going on in the mind. Okay, and then slowly the mind will begin to understand what the purpose of all this is, and it might slow down eventually. It's okay. So the key guideline is sit down and chant your mantra, okay? And then as soon as you recognize there is a thought in the mind, go back to your mantra. If you don't recognize there is a thought in the mind, let the thought go there. It's going to do its job. You start cooking your food, that's fine. You're planning a vacation, you might be already in Hawaii and you're planning a vacation there, it's fine. Okay, let it happen. Everyone okay with that? Okay, so no judgment, no analysis, no self-criticism whatsoever. All that is a part of meditation. All right. So what we'll do now is to do a little meditation. So I will first guide you through a guided sequence of meditation. It will take about, it's now 7:22 in my clock. That guided sequence will take about 8 minutes. Okay. And from there, I will guide you how to transition to your mantra meditation. And then today, because of time, we'll do that mantra meditation maybe for 5-6 minutes. Is that okay? Everyone okay with that? Okay. So let's close the eyes. Again, sit up in a posture that's very comfortable. Always, we'll try to keep the spine tall and vertical, but without any strain. So make adjustments, make sure you're very naturally relaxed. And just mentally set the intention that I'm going to maintain this pose without any movement if possible. Nice and steady pose, relaxed pose. Very comfortable arms and shoulders, hands are relaxed. We'll recite Om once now. Take a deep breath in. Om. The guided sequence that we'll do today is called the Pratyahara meditation. Pratyahara is the ability to withdraw the senses from any external influence and turn them inward. So in this guided sequence, we'll connect with each of the five senses one at a time, and then, of course, completely withdraw the mind away from the five senses. And that's when we'll transition to the mantra meditation. So let's begin by connecting with the sense of touch. So become aware of the body and feel all the points of the body that are in contact with the floor. So all the parts of the body that are touching the floor, just feel those parts. Maybe some parts of your feet, legs, maybe knees or thighs, some parts of your buttocks. Become aware of that contact. Become aware of the subtle heaviness of the whole body on the floor. Body feels nicely supported by the ground, very relaxed body. Shift your awareness to the hands. And again, feel the contact between the hands and the body wherever they're resting. So the hands are resting very comfortably on your knees, thighs, lap, wherever they're positioned. Very relaxed hands. Arms and shoulders are hanging very loose, very comfortable arms and shoulders. I'm aware of the contact between the clothes and the skin. So mentally scan the body and become aware of all the points where you think that you can feel the clothes touching the skin. And finally, let's become aware of the surrounding air touching the skin. Let's go through the body and see if you feel any kind of sensation of heat or cold, any parts of the body. Next, we'll shift the awareness to the sense of smell. Shift your awareness to the tip of the nose and mentally visualize a smell that you really enjoy, that you're really fond of. A smell, it could be the smell of a food or a drink, maybe the smell of a flower or a fragrance of any kind. Just mentally visualize your most favorite smell and also visualize as if you're able to experience that smell, that you're able to experience it at this very moment, at the very tip of the nose. Kind of mentally bring that experience to the tip of the nose, your most favorite smell. We'll shift the awareness to the sense of taste next again, focusing at the tip of the tongue, mentally visualize a taste that you really enjoy, any food, any drink that you enjoy the taste of, and bring that experience alive at the tip of the tongue, as if you are actually able to experience your most favorite taste right now at this moment. Slowly shift the awareness to the sense of sight. And this time mentally imagine a physical object that you're really fond of, an object that's the source of maybe visual delight for you. And try to bring an image of that object to your mind's eye in its full color, shape, and size. So actually visualizing your most favorite physical object in its full glory back in your mind's eye. Finally, let's connect with this sense of hearing. So again, imagine a sound that you really enjoy listening to. It could be the sound of a loved member of your family, maybe some sound of a friend's voice, sound of a musical note, instrument, somebody's singing voice that you really enjoy, any sound, even could be the sound of the chirping of a bird or rain falling or anything. Mentally visualize that you're able to bring that experience of that sound in your ears right now. You're able to actually enjoy that sound right now. Slowly shift your awareness, your breath. There is movement happening. You're breathing in and out. Any movement normally creates sound, but that sound is just so subtle, you probably are not able to hear any sound. You're just aware of the flow of the breath in and out. No sound, maybe. If there is sound, just become aware of that. Let's gradually shift the awareness away from the body. Maybe you can hear some sound from inside the room where you're seated, or maybe even extend the hearing from outside the room. Any subtle sound that you can perceive, become aware. Anywhere. Continue to extend the hearing farther and farther out and away from you. And see if we can completely get absorbed in the deep silence, deep stillness that lies beyond all sound vibration. Deep stillness. We turn the awareness inward now and recognizing that even deep inside us, at the deepest core of our being, we have that spot of deep stillness, silence, peace, quiet. We have that inside us, but we are not able to connect with it because of the constant chatter that goes on in our mind, which does not give us any awareness of that deep silence within us. So the objective of our practice of yoga is to eventually come to a state where the chatter is subdued, which is what Patanjali calls chitta vritti nirodha. Subdue that chatter so we can actually get a glimpse of that deep sense of silence. free of any movement, any vibration, any chatter. When we can make that connection, we are in a state of pure joy. And we kind of mentally now visualize that you have no more distraction from the five senses, and will transition at this point to our mantra meditation. And to do that, let's just become aware of the body again, any physical sensations that you might be feeling in the body. Again, any kind of tingling, any vibration in the body, any feeling of heat and cold, etc. Just become aware, nothing else. We are not doing anything, just awareness. Shift the awareness to your breath now. Just feel the flow at the tip of the nose just for a couple of breaths. Shifting the awareness to the spot between the two eyebrows. That is called the third eye location, or the Agnya Chakra. The spot between the two eyebrows. Eye of wisdom, they call it. And then mentally visualize a vast expanse of space in front. The Sanskrit word for that space is Chidakasha, which translates to the space of consciousness, vastly expanded consciousness. To maintain your awareness at that third eye location and this space in front, then gradually, slowly transition to your mantra recitation. So, whatever mantra you have picked, recite your mantra in your mind. Keep a pace of recitation which is very, very comfortable for you, not too fast, not too slow. Reciting your mantra. And as we talked about, as you recite your mantra, the thoughts will come in the mind. Simply want to observe the thoughts. But there are times when you will not even know that there is a thought, but your mind is kind of taken over by a thought, which is fine. As soon as you recognize the presence of a thought, get back to your mantra recitation. Let's do that just for a few more moments now. Mantra meditation. Om. Slowly bring your awareness back to your breath and just feel the flow at the tip of the nose for a couple more breaths. Once again, becoming aware of the body, any physical sensations that you might be feeling in the body. Becoming aware of the surroundings. And then softly open the eyes now. That was just kind of a sample session on meditation. Like I mentioned, we can add dharana practices to it. Like what we did as dharana was the pratyahara meditation, where we went through the sense perceptions. So that's a part of the dharana practice, initial focus. Okay, and there are other techniques of dharana, as I've already mentioned. All right. So in any case, that's the kind of this. I know we have gone way beyond our stipulated time. Any questions, please? If you have any thoughts or questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. Any questions?
Yes,
Any-
Subhashi. So you already mentioned the timing, ideal timings for doing meditation, but before sleeping, is that okay to do meditation?
Well, before sleeping, how long would you like to meditate
Or
for?
like maybe after say around 3 hours after dinner when the stomach is
Yes.
empty.
Yes. Stomach is empty, then you can do it even before. It doesn't matter what time it is. Yeah. Stomach empty is the key guideline. Yep. Any time is fine.
Mm-hmm. And so that, many times coincides with, like before sleeping. So,
That's fine. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions anyone have? Feel free, please.
Sir, Subhashji, this self-knowing is meditation, understanding oneself
Yes.
in every moment, moment to moment.
Yes. When you say understanding ourselves,
Means observing every thought that comes.
right. Observing thoughts that come and become an observer.
Yeah.
And that is, as a fundamental guideline that we have to understand. That's very true. Very good observation. What that also means is that we observe, what's going on without getting carried away. Okay. You want to just become an observer. So whatever happens in the mind, and let's say, the point is, again, if you're in a work situation, right? If you're working on a project at work, right? You focus on the project. Other thoughts come in. The point that he's making is, don't get entangled with those thoughts. Become an observer. Make a note of it. Maybe there may be a nagging thought which you have to take care of sometimes. Sometimes it happens. So actually, what happens? I give you my own practical approach that I do. I keep when I meditate, it's dark. I meditate in the morning, and I keep my room dark at that time. So I have a voice recorder. It's very easy to operate. I know where to turn it on. So whenever there's a nagging thought which doesn't want to go away, and I'm distracted in my meditation, I turn that recorder on and record that thought. How it goes away from my mind. I can look at it later. It doesn't have to bother me at all. That's what I do. If you meditate, for example, during the daytime, or there is light in your room, you can keep a piece of paper and pencil there. If there's a nagging thought which doesn't want to go away from your mind, note that down so that you can take care of it later. Now You put it away, put it on the back burner, so to say, and get back to your meditation. Okay? But that's a good observation, that you become an observer of what's going on without analyzing it, without getting bothered by it, without getting entangled with it. That's the idea. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Subhaji.
Thank you, Ravi. That's a wonderful thought. Yep.
Hi, Sebastian. This is Vincent. When we are doing meditation, since I'm able to concentrate till the third eye when you have said.
Your sound is breaking up. I'm not able to understand you very well. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Hi, Subhashi.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
I can hear you a little bit better. Yep.
Okay. So when I'm doing the meditation, till the third eye, I'm able to concentrate well. I'm able to do it. But after the third eye, I got distracted a bit, and it's like I feel the sense of some kind of power completely entering into my body and leaving. Some kind of pressure is what which I feel, and after that, it just I'm getting some sleep as well. So I felt something just changed there exactly at that point in time. After that, I was unable to concentrate well.
This is, you're talking about the practice we did today?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The one which you told.
That's exactly the point, that whatever you experience today, that become aware of that. That's it. Don't try to analyze too much. Okay. Next time, maybe you'll have a different experience. Okay. But just become aware of that.
Got it. Got it.
Try to analyze too much, then you get lost in that. If it repeats every time, then of course you have to start understanding, start developing taking some time to understand what's going on. It's okay. Otherwise, things will happen. When you practice meditation, a lot of things happen, and that's what we covered in my meditation program. What kind of things can happen in the mind. Okay, a lot of things can happen.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Subhashi.
Thank you. Anybody else have thoughts, comments, questions?
Subhashi, Preeti here.
Yes, Preeti. Yes.
That was a wonderful experience. After a long time, I could practice with somebody, and because when you start practicing on your own, you hardly get chance to do the guided meditation, right?
Yeah. So I'm glad it happened for you. Yes, very good.
Yes, it was a wonderful experience, and the tips that you have given are really useful, and I would definitely try those.
That's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, talking about feedback, etc., I'm going to send you an email tomorrow, where I will give you a link for a feedback form. Like I mentioned, I did this for the first time. Okay, this one session meditation program, I did this for the first time. I'm very used to my 14 days program. I've been doing that for 15 years, so I'm comfortable with that. But for a session which was such a short duration, I'm doing this for the first time. So I need your feedback. Okay, so I'll ask you a few questions. Please fill those out and then submit it, so that I know, if I need to modify in future, what are the things I need to change and all that. But think about, what you experienced today, and put those thoughts in that feedback form. It will really be helpful for you as well as for me. Okay, so I'll send that tomorrow. All right. So the one thought that comes to my mind is, the next time when I do this, I probably should allocate 2 hours for this at least, because it might take that long anyway. Yes, Rao.
Especially if you're going to do introduction. Especially if you add an introduction.
Yes. Rao, you had a question?
What is the recommended diet? Usually, there is a debate on you be sattvic food or the vegetarian versus non-vegetarian.
Sattvic food is always recommended. That's the common recommendation.
For a meditator.
Sattvic food is very strongly recommended for meditation, right? That's what our text will say, Pradipika has, the mitahara and all those words are used, which is, keep it light, keep it simple, keep it, nothing too fried, nothing too spicy, all those kind of guidelines, holistic, sattvic food.
No chicken farm.
Well, I mean, whatever works for you, I mean, but keep it light, basically. Don't overstuff yourself. Everyone okay with that? So can we close this session now? Is that okay? Let's close the eyes once again.
Thank you, Subhashi.
We'll close the session with a mantra and all that. Just stay with me for a moment. Close the eyes. Nice and comfortable. The Shanti mantra. So let's join the hands together. If you're not familiar with it, just listen in. Many of you are. Asatoma. So inhale. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead me from unreal to the real, darkness to light, and lead me from the fear of death to the knowledge of immortality. Peace, peace, peace. Let's rub the palms briskly. We'll cover the eyes softly with the palms. These two hands, join the palms, raise them up, and while exhaling, bend forward. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. I bow down to all my gurus, my teachers. I would like to pay a very special tribute to our Guru Patanjali, who has given us this beautiful wisdom and this practice that we call yoga. And then come back up slowly. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Please do the feedback, and if you're interested, join my classes. I teach 4 classes every week, and you're welcome to come anytime. For those of you who are here for the first time, please stay back. I'm going to take a picture. Thank you, friends online. It was a pleasure to have you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Subhashi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Subhashi.
Thank you, Subhashi.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Sharmila.
much, Subhaji.
Thank
Good night.
you. Thanks, Preeti.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ravi,
Thank
for
you,
joining
Subhashi.
from Hyderabad all the way. That's beautiful. So nice of
Thank you,
you.
Yes,
Subhashi.
sir.
Thanks, Sonal.
Yeah. Nice of you, sir.
All
Thank you.
right. Wonderful. Okay. Veena Aaron. Aaron, is that how you pronounce that? Aaron? Veena. You probably unmute. Okay. That's fine. All right. Bye, everybody.